All right, you guys. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And it's awesome to be with you. I love this show. I love critiquing your stuff. I've got a little story I'm going to tell you ahead of time. Snuggle up. It's turning into winter. It's snowing in Montana, I saw this morning. Maybe some of you guys are experiencing that kind of weather too. Give us a shout out where you're from. Hey, Daryl from Portland. And of course, Jared in Chicagoland, how is it out there? So, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I think I'm just going to dive in with you guys. So, you know, we're brought to you by our friends at Bay Photo, and again, you should get your stuff made into prints or books. 25% off on all their albums. The exposer, which is really a cool thing, which is what I've got behind me here. It's sort of a plastic thing on this frame. I should be more specific than that, but you can also change these out if you want, which is another cool thing. But they float off the wall. It's a cool look. And those are 30% off, 15% off on metal prints. And the acrylic prints, this is going away today. So if you want those, grab them. You'll get 25% off on your first order. All righty. So what we're going to do is something a little different. I'm going to start off with a story of... Oh, wait a minute. Before I go any further, I want to remind you guys to subscribe if you haven't already done so and enable the bell. Then you're not going to miss any of our upcoming videos, which we've got some really cool stuff coming up here. I'm not kidding. All right, I'm going to tell you my little story. So Jan and I try to travel every year. Generally, we go overseas. Obviously, that's not happening this year. We got to looking at it, and we travel in September after Labor Day. So this year we decided to take a road trip. You may have seen my little video about traveling around in our Mini. We did this for a number of different reasons. One, I just wanted to get in touch with the West, the Old West, and I specifically wanted to return to a couple of places I'd been a long time ago, namely right here, Canyonlands. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But we got in our car and we unfortunately were dodging smoke the whole way. It was unbelievable. We got up, we drove through the San Francisco Bay Area. There were fires all around San Francisco Bay Area, and actually up north. Truckee is where Tahoe is. Smoke, smoke, smoke all the way through here. We didn't really get out of the smoke until we hit Jackson Hole way up here, the Tetons. We went to Yellowstone. Three Forks, we bumped into more smoke. And that's where it's snowing again, apparently. And then we came down here. You can see we turned around, came back to the Canyonlands. What are the Canyonlands? Well, for me, it has a special meaning because I went to the Canyonlands when I was 14 years old. I went to, let's face it, it was a hippie high school. And we used to take class trips every year, and we took this trip to the Canyonlands. This is actually not a picture of where we went. And the dilemma that I had, was trying to find the original spot. I didn't remember because I'd been there when I was 14. I returned when I was 19. When I was 19, I flew to Denver from New York City. I was going to school in Vermont in February, which is when things are still really cold in Utah. Flew to Denver, hitchhiked over my way. I don't know how I found my way. It's not like today where you look on your phone, you know where to go. Somehow I found my way to the exact spot I needed to go, and I went back into this place where we had gone when I was 14, and we hiked in. And this is a picture on our way, trying to find our way to the actual spot. This was in Arches National Park, which is right next to, really a part of Canyonlands. And here's, this is called the Delicate Arch. This is you-know-who standing here, a picture by Marc Silber, pretty famous spot. But again, we went there and I looked at it and I went, this isn't where I was. I would remember this. It had no for me, it was jogging no memory whatsoever. So we were kind of like, where is this part of Canyonlands? So Canyonlands is a pretty big place. You can see this map, and it covers a lot of ground. This is Moab, Utah, and to this part of Canyonlands is another 2 hours by this road, and then you catch this little tiny road. Well, I went to one of the rangers, and I tried to describe to him where I was, and it was really vague. I felt, when you're trying to describe something and you can't really tell the person what it is. So the only reference point that I had was I knew it was by a creek or a river. And so he looked at me and said, well, there's only actually one place in all of this Canyonlands, and it's Salt Creek. That could possibly be it. So it turns out it's all the way on the other side. It's called the Needles section of Canyonlands. So we went to that section. Now, that was no small feat. It was a 2-hour drive by the main highway and another hour on this tiny little road. And then from there, I went to the other rangers and I said, how do I get to Salt Creek? Well, the ranger was actually trying to talk us out of going there. She said, it's not the most beautiful part, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. I'm doing my own archaeological dig back into my own past, trying to reconnect. And so finally she said, well, there's this, here's where Salt Creek is, and follow the signs. So there's one of the signs to Salt Creek. That became the key landmark, Salt Creek. And all of a sudden it started to kind of remind me of it. This is the trailhead. From here, it says hazardous road conditions. Well, we weren't driving anywhere. We were hiking in. It was all very, very sandy, very hot, very dry. I'm dragging Jan through this adventure, hoping that this was indeed the place I was before. And as soon as we got there and started hiking, it came back to me. Now, these are some photographs that I just pulled out the other day that I captured when I was 19 years old, when I went back the second time after hitchhiking there. And I scanned these images. This is, actually, I made this into a book, part of a book. These are, the old wagon wheels. This is the Old West, and they had abandoned their claim shack. And of course, there's part of their wagon. But I did make this into a book. This is actually one page of that book, which I should bring out and scan and probably, start getting it out to people. Some other photos of interest. This one, this is the walls, and there's actually some pictographs, not in this image, but very close by. And again, that was back from my old visit. I don't have photos from the very first visit when I was 14. I guess I just didn't take a camera, which is unusual because I usually did travel everywhere with a camera, but I don't have those negatives. It's always a bummer when you lose your stuff. This was from that shack. When you put horseshoes represent good luck when they're up going the other way, but when you turn them around like this, all your luck drains out. The guy who lived there, I think his luck drained out. So not much of a shelter. Look at the gaps between those logs, but you can see they were hand-hewn by an axe. You didn't go down to your local Home Depot and buy stuff. They did have some pretty normal modern-day nails there. You can see those. But again, this was my little photo essay from when I was 19 years old, and I really did want to find it. And it turned out this was indeed the same place. This was a modern photograph. I love getting pictures of clouds, and sometimes, to me, the most interesting shots are the ones that have clouds in them. You can see the clouds peeking behind the sun peeking behind the clouds. There's a little sunburst there. And sometimes you're so intent on looking straight forward that you forget to turn your camera and look up, which is why you always want to think of different angles. And this was, once we got on the trail, it started to come back. And this is one of the modern photographs. I haven't even got to the point where I just processed a few of them. And this was one that, it's just my take on kind of that environment. You can see back here some of those shapes that I showed you earlier. But the trick was finding this. It's in the needles section of Canyonlands, and it was like finding a needle in a haystack. Sorry, I couldn't miss that. But when I came back, I found a box of stuff. I went through it, started scanning it, and believe it or not, this was my map from that trip when I was 19 years old, probably the exact same trip, the same map when I was 14. I did not set out with this map, but this shows you exactly where we were. There's Salt Creek. This was the final, this was in fact where we were. But I highly recommend to you guys going back to places you've been before, re-photographing them, because you're going to get a different take. But not only that, it's really interesting to reconnect and to see the differences. I mean, when I was 19, I was pretty troubled. I did not have a clear vision of where I wanted to go. I was mid-college. I didn't know why I was even in college. I didn't know where I was going with this education. And I talked my parents into letting me take off half the year. So I did, and I started the half a year with this trip to the Canyonlands, and I came back. And the rest of it is another story for another day. But I wanted to just show you guys that. I'm actually making this into a video. You're getting kind of a sneak peek. It is a cool thing. Go back, re-photograph. Bob Holmes talks about it. Dan Milner, I talk about it. It really does pay off. Jared, should we dive in to our critiques?
Yeah, so we've got our first image here.
Okay.
It's Mahesh. I believe that's how you pronounce your name. Once again, I just want to say, and I'm going to say this once, I apologize profusely if I mispronounce your name. I'm terrible.
We'll try our best
with names, but I am doing my best. So feel free to correct me in the comments or in the chat.
Okay, well, listen, this is a cool image. There's the lines do really work well together here. You've got a leading line situation with the road itself, but also the leading line of the rugs kind of goes to, this is to me the center of interest here, is this person on a Vespa. And the fact that there's another Vespa behind them also is a point of interest. It works well because you're using your leading lines. And, the rug, it doesn't throw my attention off the center of interest here. It actually, because of that angle, it brings it to that. And even the trees are kind of arching over, creating a cool, like, framing there, So you've got some really good elements. Well done. Excellent.
And I think it's interesting too that it's like very almost like sepia or desaturated.
It is a little bit.
It's a nice contrast to either the black and white. It's like a mix of the black and white and the color where,
Mm-hmm. No, it's got a good use of that. I think these muted tones here, and we've got some color here, but again, this is a tricky thing because you think, well, maybe this could pull your eye, but it really doesn't because it points in the direction of where we want our eye to go, which is the person on the Vespa. All right, who's next?
All right, we've got Fernando. I saw that he was in the chat. This one's called The Kiss.
Hey, nice job, Fernando. Obviously, a very professional photo. It looks like somebody's having a baby here, which is pretty cool. And you've got, good use of depth of field. You've got, I don't know if that was natural or you had somebody with a blower or something blowing up her dress. You might let us know. And the colors are perfect. Everything goes together because you've got these kind of like muted sort of brownish tones. Tan goes along with her dress. Excellent. Good job. I mean, everything about that photo works.
All right. Our next photo is from Anderson.
Jared, I forget, did we announce that we're giving away a print this time?
We didn't. I don't think
Okay.
that we were doing a print
All right.
this
Well,
week,
next time we'll do that.
but
That is a
next week we will.
that
So
is a cool photograph. It looks like
this
we've
is
got a
from
picture
a
of it.
street photography session, he said.
What do we got going on here? This is a guy. Wait a minute. This is a guy with angel wings, or are those angel wings in the door? At first, I'm kind of going back and forth. I don't think he's got them on him. I guess those angel wings are painted on that door.
I believe so.
But your, you know, decisive moment is perfect, and you got his foot coming up here, but you captured him right in the spot where the wings would, coincide. That's a very cool photograph. And the fact that it's black and white, you've got a lot of space going on up here, which is just works well. And I love it. It's humorous and it's intriguing. And again, it's always good to leave your viewer asking questions. I have a lot of questions, which is good. The wings are on the door. Okay, Anderson. Well, you timed it perfectly, and you didn't just randomly take that image. You got his foot up. Bob Holmes would applaud that because, that's part of that whole punctuation point. Is the foot itself is a punctuation point. Yeah, and the white shoes definitely help, match the wings. That works really well, and it definitely works as a black and white. Good job.
All right, our next one. Before I show you, I'm going to tell you the name. It's called Street Fight.
It's called what?
Street Fight.
Okay. Street Thugs, right?
And this is from Familia.
A street fight. That's pretty funny. Look at those ferocious dogs trying to beat each other up. That's a cool shot, everyday life. In where is this? I'm guessing.
He didn't say where, but I'm guessing in Romania. I know
Okay.
you're in the chat, so you can let us know where you took it.
Okay. It's a cool look at everyday life. I love the boys looking back. That works really well. You could argue, well, should just the two dog people and the dogs be in focus and the rest of it not? I think it works really well because it's like a slice of life. And even these guys over here, standing over there looking at this, everybody's looking at this dog fight. And that's obviously the story here. And you're telling a story. When I look at a photograph, I want to, what story is this picture telling me? Does it tell me a story? And you guys are spot on today. You're all telling me stories, which is what's intriguing. So, great work.
All right, this one is from Daniel, and this was taken in Budapest.
You guys are just, what is going on here? You guys are awesome. I mean, I have nothing to critique in the sense of, well, you could have tried this or that. All right, this is again wonderful. You've got the guy on the bench, obviously center of interest, framed, which is a framing technique of having that arch, which is basically like a window. Our eyes love to look through windows. We love to look through things and see what's on the other side, and it's a very appealing thing. And then you've got these stairs, which is like a natural way of leading your eye up. So you're controlling my view very effectively. And then this light, I guess there's some other street lights here too, because we've got several reflections here. But that works really well. It doesn't distract from our silhouetted guy. And that's the other thing, he's silhouetted. It's a wonderful shot, a wonderful image.
All right, our next one is from Ram, and it's called, it's either called or the caption with it was "Spot the Runner."
Spot the runner.
Yeah, are you
Nice.
able to see the
I
runner
do, I
in the
think.
photo?
Right
Yeah.
here, right? There's
Yeah,
our
very
punctuation
small, but-
point. Without that punctuation point, it's I mean, it's okay. It's an interesting sunset, I'm guessing. Maybe it's sunrise. But with that, it's fantastic. And that's where that punctuation can elevate, absolutely elevate your image. The misty, I'm guessing that's morning. Let us
That
know.
would be my guess too.
Yeah, because you usually see that kind of mist in the morning, which is bravo to you. You got up early, it looks like. And you're getting this incredible early morning light, I'm again guessing, with the runner in the mist. Cape Town, South Africa at 7:20 p.m. I was absolutely wrong. So it's nighttime. Okay. Well, cool. So either way, it works beautifully. And fantastic. What you guys are putting me out of work here. You're just doing such a great job. All I can do is tell you why your photograph looks great, which you probably already know.
All right, here's
Boom.
Mark Rowe.
Is there a title for this one? I love it.
I don't believe that there was a title, but this was taken as part like a fall portrait series that he
Aha.
did like last November.
I see.
I'm looking to see if there was anything else. Yeah, so portrait work from November 2016, 2019.
It's such a, the remarkability of the costume. I mean, the girl's very pretty. She's got an interesting expression of almost like a question. You know, there's something there, that makes me ask a question. But this head thing that she's got is, framing her hair and her head. And again, this photograph leaves me asking questions, which is great. What is going on here? Now I know, but the photograph itself, we want to make images that don't require captions and don't require a description. It's fine to do that, but it's like a soundtrack of a movie. You should be able to get what's going on without hearing the soundtrack in a well-made film. You should be able to just look at the image and it tells you the story. Well, this has a story behind it, and it leaves me again asking questions. Well done.
All right, this one is from Lucas Lamont.
Once again, you guys are fantastic. Okay, Lucas, black and white. We've got the birds up here. We've got our punctuation point. This person here. There's even some other ones over here, but this is our key punctuation point. And our love clouds, as you already know. And the sun way behind here. That works great. One thing I will say about you guys with black and whites, I really do recommend Silver Effects Pro. And the reason for that, I don't know if you're using it here or not, but you could get a little more punch out of this. And this goes for one of the previous ones, just a little more punch by getting a stronger dynamic range. And Silver Effects Pro is the best way I know to do that, because you've got so many different, you've got film types that you can use. You've got various different not scenes, but templates essentially. And then you can add filters to it. So you could try your different filters. You may find a red filter makes those blacks pop even more. So, I'm a big fan of theirs. We've had them on the show. I use it all the time. I use it only and exclusively for processing my black and whites. So that's the only little minor thing. I would just say you might try that out and see what happens. But great job. You've got something there that works really well.
All right, our next one is from Cameron Conrad, and he said that he took this one back a long time ago with a really basic camera, just when he was first beginning photography. Okay. And it was one of his like really early proud photos to make something like this. So
good job. Well, that has everything going for it. Again, you guys are awesome. What an amazing group of photographers we have here. Okay, with a basic camera, well, you did something that a lot of us try really hard, and we get ND filters and do things and this and that. But you had a long exposure, which smoothed out the water and also allowed the stars to pop through. You have a punctuation point of the American flag. Boom, right there. That's your punctuation point. You guys are doing what you're supposed to do. We've got, lots of lines here. The mood lines of this, I happen to know what the mood lines of a bridge are. Mood lines are what I talk about in my book on composition, and there's a whole bunch of them. I think 48 if I remember. And I've given you examples in my book of each one. Well, mood line going like this shows optimism, and it's interesting because we've got the U.S. flag here, and we're kind of highlighted with the light itself. But everything behind it, you've done a good job not cutting off the buildings back here. I mean, you can't do anything about this, but you've shown us the city behind, and lots of lights and lots of things going on. But again, your central photograph has a lot for my eye to feast on, and that's just fantastic. Now, notice. I'm just going to point out this is not rule of thirds. Rule of third eye. There is no rule, and you didn't follow that. You didn't put this smack right over here. It would be about and it's great. It works fine where it is. You didn't need to move over here, and just because we're going to follow this rule of thirds. So bravo on that.
All right, we got one with Joe, our friend Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Some portrait work.
We just looked at this one yesterday. I love that image, and you told me all about it. So it was in the alleyway where, if I have this right, David Letterman went to college in your town, or in this town. And this was an alleyway, I guess, where he was meeting people. It didn't have anything to do with this photograph, but a couple of strobes you mentioned, and the sun behind her. So hair light, fantastic because of the sun. And I think you have a strobe back here. You've got these beautiful, tones behind her. It's a stunning photograph. It's a great, image. Again, rule of thirds. You broke that rule, Joe. Okay. But you had to. If you put her anywhere else, she's not in the center either. You put her right in the right spot. So, good job. You guys are just awesome.
All right.
What can I say?
This is from Darren, and I'm looking to see quick if we had.
How cool is that?
So, first post. This was at the Rockefeller Center
Exactly.
in New York.
Where else could that be? Rockefeller Center.
Recognize that.
Yep. Ice skating. I bet they've already got their rink open. Actually, I take that back.
Yeah, they may not have a
maybe
very
not this
limited
year.
opening if it is.
It's a funny photograph, and it's a slice of life. The woman hanging onto the edge. That looks like me ice skating. But you got this. Here's what works for me. Is the contrast. Now, contrast is a really, really powerful composition tool. Again, I wrote about that. Contrast, we often think of contrast just light and dark, but you can have contrasting elements. And what I love about this is the contrast of the, who is this? One of the Greek gods of Apollo, maybe? Or let's call him Apollo. And, it's perfect, Greek body, position perfectly, stunning. And then we have this ice skater doing the exact opposite, just hanging on for dear life. That's contrast. And that's such a cool way of telling your story. So everything about that is, again, you guys are just hitting it out of the, in baseball, we say you're just hitting it out of the park. It's our baseball season right now. We're in the World Series, so fitting. But you're hitting it out right out of the park. Not even home runs. Just nobody can ever find that baseball. So well done, and it's composed perfectly, exposed really well. I mean, you're right on the edge of burning out here, but I don't doesn't do anything that distracts me. Excellent, great job. And I would agree with you, Fernando. I just saw this photography community is amazing. What an amazing group of people. Okay.
All right. Well, since you just brought up baseball, let's bring up a photo from our friend Bert.
Hey, Bert.
And this is part of a series where he called it like capturing the emotion. I know that he's been, since they haven't been doing the big leagues, he's been doing, a lot of kids leagues. And I just really liked this one.
This is, something went wrong here. This is the catcher, right? Missed somebody got away from this guy. And you capture the emotion. The stands are empty, which is very, a timely statement. Your characters behind really work to frame this guy. The angle of this guy and these, you're not bumping into any of them, so you position yourself perfectly. And the lighting on him is amazing. He's really well lit. So this is evening or?
Evening game, yes.
An evening game. So there must be some stadium lights here. And the emotion is what, gets us here. I messed up. He's bummed out. And, but there's, the game is going to go on no matter what. Excellent job. And even over here, we've got these, where he's standing, the lines. It's all the lines work together really well. Good job. Boom.
All right. This next one is from Frederick.
Frederick. Okay.
And let me see. I don't think that there's anything that came with this one. I don't have anything on record of like captions or anything.
So.
Oh, yep. Sustainability. And he took this in Stockholm.
In Stockholm. Okay. Are these people? Those are shadows of two people, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's the center of interest for me. And, even though you could say this is about a lily pond or a river or whatever, that's what makes this interesting. They're in the middle of a triangle. So again, it leaves me asking questions. Where are they? I mean, how are we seeing their shadows? Or are we not? Are those silhouette? Now that I look at it, it's a silhouette. Okay, it's not a shadow. But again, you're leading me into it because I'm not clear, and that's good. You don't want to show everything and answer all questions. So again, there's contrast in this because we've got this sort of, pleasant lily photograph, which by itself really wouldn't be very remarkable. But then highlighted in this triangle are these people, and that's what makes that photograph work. Once again, well done. Bravo.
And I just wanted to say, because I just noticed we've got a lot of people here. So if you're unfamiliar with our show, we are taking photos from our Facebook group, the AYP Club. And I'm putting a link to it in the description. You can submit your photos. I do try to keep an eye on it. And so if I see that some people are requesting to join and submitting photos, we may pull them up. We've got time. We got a lot of photos, so
more people seem to be coming in every minute. So I'd love you guys who've just arrived or recently joined us. Let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm super impressed with our group, as always. This is fantastic. I haven't given you guys one point of you should do this to correct that or whatever. And, and Nemi's here. Nemi, listen, I don't want to hold you to it, but I really can't wait to see your video. And Jared, let's just tell everybody right now so
Yeah.
all our folks here know. Go ahead and give them the rundown on our new
All right.
shoot support.
So if you weren't with us yesterday, we talked about this on our news show, but we are starting a new show, and I'm going to
Super
pull up
excited.
the page here, and it is called Shoot Support. So this is inspired by a show from Marc's son, who did a skateboarding channel called Braille. If any of you are familiar with it, where they did skate support, and people would send in their videos of them skating, and then they would get advice and feedback on how to improve their skating. Well, we wanted to do something really similar for photography. So
Yep.
we're going to let you guys submit videos to us talking about, it can be kind of one of sort of three things. One, a photo or a photo series that really challenged you, one that you're particularly proud of, or something that you're really struggling with. It could be an individual photo and you're like, I feel like it doesn't work, but I'm not sure why, or you're having a pressing problem like, oh, I'm having an issue with my images feel flat. I don't feel like they have much dimension to them. Well, you can record a short little video, and we have some suggestions on how to make a good video, and it doesn't need to be anything fancy. You can just use your phone, record yourself, submit it with your photos. It's that easy. We'll edit it. We'll make sure that you look good, and I'm gonna put that into the chat here. And we've just been really excited for something like this. It's what I've been referring to as the You initiative,
Yep.
adding more you in advancing your photography. So be sure to submit your videos here for shoot support. I've just put that into the chat. You'll have seen it a couple seconds ago. Do you have anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I'm
And
just
one of
really
the other
excited.
reasons we're doing this
I'm super
is
excited.
because, yeah, there's some people have felt like the images, it was a little difficult because we pick one image and it's part of a series of images.
Yeah.
And this can allow you to share a series of images more easily with us.
So good, you guys take advantage of that. It's going to be a little different than what we're doing here because I'm going to be able to comment on your video. And, again, I want you to send ones that you're either really proud of in terms of, achieving your goals as a photographer, or ones that are problematic to you. Either way. All right, let's get back to work here. Let's get a few more people critiqued. I'm super excited about you guys and what I see happening. Wow.
Since we were just talking about Nemi, this is one of her photos from a Pride parade in 2019.
Okay, and you were how old then? 14?
That would have been a year ago, so 14, I guess.
Okay, Nemi, another home run here. You are doing so many good things with this photograph. You've got obviously the girl's the center of interest, but the guy next to her helps. She's at an angle, so there's a lot of energy going on. There's, it's like I can feel the story and I can feel the energy. I can almost hear the music. And this comes right out of my day. Guys, I spent time in the Haight-Ashbury. I go back. I grew up, yes, I was a hippie. And some will say that I still am. So any of these kind of rock moments and, festival things and whatnot, I'm right there with you. And also, here's what I love about this, Nemi. You are right into the action. I'd love to know what focal length you shot that at because you're not afraid to get in there. That's probably the biggest hurdle for many people. Am I invading privacy? I don't want to, upset people or whatever. And you're doing it in a great way where you're not affecting what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing. The guy is looking at you, but clearly he's just in motion. And there's the other thing: is his foot's up, her foot's up, tremendous amount of energy. Okay, we got to see your video. That's all I can say. Well done.
And then we'll be going to our to her father, Magnus, who posted this along with a quote that we have used in a lot of different places. But it is Robert Kappa's quote: if your pictures are not good enough, you're not close enough.
Yeah.
So he
Well, you
said, not
got.
my best picture, but I was close.
So back to Nemi, 24 to 70. Yeah, you were close, and I'm assuming you were in a fairly wide part of that 24 to 70. Okay, great photograph. The fact that we've got a hand being held up there shows that you had some pushback, literally. You're not in focus. Absolutely fine. You know, our friend Cartier-Bresson said, focus is bourgeois. And you know, it's interesting. Many amateurs judge a photograph by whether it's in focus or not, which is absolutely, that's what Cartier-Bresson was saying. Huh, what? Because in moments like this, you may not even had a chance to focus. You're being told to get out of there. And there's tear gas going off. This is heavy. You know, this isn't like, you know, the police are standing by, you know, drinking coffee or something. I mean, this is in the midst of something going on here that your heart was probably pounding. It makes my heart pound. And that's, again, the mark of a beautiful story. The fact that we get to see the guy in the background, you know, who is in focus, and the tear gas, I'm assuming that is tear gas. Am I right? This is a remarkable photograph. And you guys, both of you in the family, are courageous and willing to get in there into the mix, even though, you know, you're being told not to. And it looks fairly new, right? Because she's wearing a mask. So something, I'm assuming, or
Could be the mask, could be for the tear gas.
could be for the tear gas too. Anyway, well done, perfect shot. Images. Well, you have frames within frames. Also, you know, you have this going on back here. The hand. I mean, look at that. Wow, you're going to get smacked any second if you don't take heed of this hand. Body language is just so amazing, and you've got this. You know, got her on it's a her, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what it looks like to me.
It looks like to me too. And black and white, it all works great. No
Smoke
tear gas,
bombs.
only smoke bomb. Only smoke bomb.
Only smoke bombs.
Well, they're trying to, with a smoke bomb, it's the same kind of deal here. You know, it's adding an element of like what could happen next, you know? And I don't know from looking at it if it's tear gas or smoke bomb, but it doesn't matter either way. It's not a cool thing. So, excellent job.
All right, we've got one. I told Mark about this. This is from Julian Ray. I know that you didn't put hashtag critique on this, but we have reviewed some of your photos in the past, and I just really loved this one.
Oh,
So
wow.
this one came with, he was discussing what he looks for, especially when he's doing travel stuff, and then this one has the name The Zen of Buddha's Cats.
I love that. And that it's a perfect caption. Leading lines, you know, obviously center of interest, perfect, you know, in the frame, shadows, natural light, nothing seems to be added to it. I'm assuming there's a window over here. Leaves me asking questions. Where is this? The you know, the cat is just giving us a great portrait. And I always think of animals, you know, when I photograph animals, I feel like I'm in a portrait session with them, you know, whether it's a deer that I happen to get really close to, or bobcat, and a horse. And I feel like they enjoy having their photographs taken. And this one clearly does. I love the tones, you know, of the whole environment that match the tones of the kitty. That's just amazing. Well done. Everything about that is spot on. You guys, you guys are awesome. And so Nemi's just saying, yeah, 24 millimeter. My dad was about 1 meter from the police. Woo. Okay. You guys are not afraid to get in there. So anyway, back to this one. I love it. Well done. What can I say? We got to create a book here.
Definitely.
We,
you guys could,
we're-
the AYP community book.
Yeah, it's about time. But we're definitely going to be doing that. Yeah, I really dig it too. We're going to be doing that with my mentoring program. And I'm going to give you guys an assignment. Here's how this magical program is going to work. You're going to have a whole foundation of information because I want to up your game wherever you are right now. I want you to keep expanding on that and going to the next level. But you'll also, over the period of the program, have an assignment. So you're going to keep following more or less the same subject or idea, and we're going to see that progress week to week. And at the end of that quarter, 13 weeks, we'll produce a book. Anyway, it's going to happen. I haven't quite got all the pieces
We're
together.
in the final details.
We're
talk
getting
about this program almost every day.
We're getting there. Okay.
All right. This is from our Chicagoland team, Beth Ann. And I believe this is part of a series I remember Jared posted as well about doing some portraits on trees. And this looks like it was taken at the same time, I'm guessing.
A tree portrait.
Yeah.
So is this Jared's?
No, this is Beth Ann's.
Beth Ann, okay. So
but
I guess
I recognize that this one you didn't put a caption, Beth Ann, but I recognize that I think it was taken on the same day as the one that Jared had posted before. So.
Beautiful fall colors. I love this is an S-turn, S-curve, which is also a really powerful composition tool. It works really well. I would love to see a punctuation point in it, if one were available, like a person here, a bird, a dog, or something. It would just be that added element, that would finish this off. So that would be my only thing. If sometimes you have to wait and just, be patient. Maybe somebody comes down this path and you wait.
Send Jared down that path.
Or send Jared, yeah.
If he was with you, so.
Or if you're Mads, I always mess up his name, Peterson.
Mads Peter Iverson.
There we go. Thank you. Mads Peter Iverson. He put himself in the frame. He put it on a timer, and he becomes the punctuation point. You're totally free to do that. But that's my only thing about that. And I would just, it would just really make the final elements come together because you're setting the stage, and that would be one thing that you could do with it. Yeah, you guys were there at the same time. Cool.
All right. Here's a great one from Saad, I believe is how you say it. And this one had a good caption. So yeah, father-daughter caught this in Mosul Street in Iraq.
Okay, so Saad, this is a fantastic image. I don't know what the story is. I'm asking questions. Why is she so sad? Is this some sort of a religious thing? Or this little girl, look, it takes a lot children are very resilient. It takes a lot to get that kind of expression. Something has happened, clearly. I love the fact that it's from her perspective. We're looking at it not from her point of view, but as we are, at the same height as her, not with the adults. All their heads are missing. That's fantastic. It would totally change the image if you had included them in it, because we're just clearly looking at her as the center of interest, with all these adults doing different things, facing different directions. This guy's got something in his hand. The angle of the dad really helps. You know, diagonal lines create motion and a dynamic feeling. And again, there's contrast here between her standing up straight and the dad sort of at an angle. That builds contrast and tension there, which is another key element. And the story is right there. Well done. And you guys can follow him. If you guys want to, get more Instagram followers, you're welcome to do what he just did. So you can follow him. Follow me while you're at it. Marc Silber. It's really easy. Let's help each other. Okay.
All right. Here's one from our friend Glenn. And I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, Glenn lives in the Central Valley. So I believe that this was probably took this via drone.
Yeah.
I really like the diagonal lines.
Beautiful.
Makes me think of something Bob would take. Bob Holmes.
Yes, Bob likes to use drones. I still need to get a drone, you guys. I'm a little bit in the Dan Milner thing. Do I want to add the fifth thing to my...
He goes back and forth, I can confirm.
I know. I probably will get one. They're amazing for still photography. I mean, we tend to think of drones for moving images, but they're incredible for still photography because you couldn't get this other than going around in a helicopter. And the only time I've gotten these kinds of shots is with a helicopter. That's very expensive. But hey, diagonal lines, awesome. It's an awesome photograph. You got the tractor with the diagonal lines. It's simple. It's a very clean Zen type photograph. And it's like a Zen garden. You know how they create these gardens and rake them? I mean, that's really what I'm seeing here is a beautifully organized, symmetrical. Symmetry is very powerful. You're using symmetry, you're using diagonal lines. You've got contrasting elements between the sand and where was that in the Central Valley, by the way? I mean, I've been through there so many times, just curious. We're, not very far from you. And on our road trip, we kind of skirted around the Central Valley. We came through it on the way back. And so, yeah, it's a minimalist. Anyway, well done.
Yeah.
Okay, one or two more.
Here's one from Robin Mitchell at one of the protests that have been going on in the United States. And I thought this one was a pretty powerful capture.
And what was the caption on this one?
The caption on this one, let me find it. Covering protests in Denver, we reawakened my love for street documentary photography. I felt this compelling need to photograph this moment in history and help tell the story. Shot with a Canon, and I assume this was all the photos, were shot with a Canon D10 and 50 millimeter 1.8.
50 millimeter. There's that 50 millimeter. Fantastic. You've got the, so these are, what are they? They're figures made out of balloons or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You've got the fists, obviously there's angst there, and we've got this little punctuation point of the flag right here in the middle, which works really well. You timed it well because, the angle of these guys, their motion right at that time gives energy, and the punctuation point. Fantastic. Once again. Fireball.
Right,
gotta go. Yeah, I drive by Fireball on Highway 5 all the time.
How about we do two more quick? These are ones that were just submitted, and I think they're really good.
All right. Submitted. Hot off the press.
Just submitted. So new members of the AYP Club. So as a welcome, we'll finish off with you two. We've got Simon. Thanks for accepting my invitation. Love to hear your opinion about these pictures I took last weekend.
Oh, so good. I love that you guys are getting out. Don't forget to capture your own images of life. Oh, by the way, before I forget, we want you guys throw that into your video at the end. Just say, and remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Okay. I don't know if that's in our write up yet, but we want you to.
I'll put it in there.
Yeah,
I'll make sure
just
it's in there.
because I'd love to have a whole bunch of you guys saying it. Maybe I'll stop saying it and just hear you say it. Okay, so this is a interesting shot of a mill wheel. So that's, that wheel is powered by the water coming through. It's framed with the leaves, so it's leading our eye right into it. The center of interest is right here. This is working well. The colors are, you got these beautiful fall colors, and you did something in the processing, I see, to kind of mute the colors and, keep it in those brown tones. Fantastic. Good work. And there's even a diagonal line here. This is a punctuation point right here. Right there is the punctuation. So, good job. And I'm glad that you just popped in here, hopefully from this show. Okay, one more, right?
All right. And yep, from our other new member, Sergius. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but this view is from the Tetra Mountains. It's a 1 hour walking perspective to get there. So if you were to get to where you see the trail going to, it's a 1 hour walk, human for scale in the bottom right.
Yeah. Now there's my punctuation point. I was looking around going, okay, I'm looking for something. So, great image. I would say what would make this pop more if we waited for this guy to be about here. The reason it just he's a little lost, he or she is a little lost to me on this lower corner. And if it were right about here, and that's just a timing thing, keep in mind that photographs don't always just pop right out at you the very second you pull your camera out. You may have to wait. Ansel Adams waited 9 hours for the clouds to line up, famously. Well, a lot of us aren't that patient, but Bob Holmes talked about it. You've got to wait. So that would be my only point. There's two other things. So everything I love about this is I love the leading line. It's really an S curves leading up the mountain. Angles here also is really a triangle, which is a very powerful composition tool. I probably want you to bring the clouds out a little bit more. I think you could make them pop. In in Lightroom, I would probably move the dehaze slider a little bit. It would get rid of some of that haze and bring out. Don't do it too much, or else it starts looking fakey. But a little bit to just make them pop, because everything else here is popping pretty well. But the only other thing is, now maybe this guy was already, you might have walked onto the scene and he's coming down this way, so you're out of luck. I mean, you had what you had, in which case, good job that you got it. But if he's walking this direction, I just keep shooting frames until I found one that maybe had a little bit more, right here. Jared, I'm not going anywhere. We've got a good audience. Why don't we keep the party going here?
I'm fine with that. We've got still several amazing images. And since we're staying here, somebody just asked, can I post some photos to the group and get a critique? Go ahead. We're going to go for a little bit longer.
We're going to keep her going.
Going back to more nature with people. Here's one from Robin. Oh, wait. No, I have been storing a couple multiple ones. We already did one for Robin. Robin, you've been putting many really good images, so I've had to keep track of them so we can get back to them later. Here's one from Julian. I really like this one.
Can I just ask this question? It's an expired AGFA slide. Is that in relationship to one of the photos we just saw, or is that?
I'm guessing that's this one. Yeah, he's going down. So he said, so the walker is going down.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you had an opportunity to get him earlier. Okay, that's cool. let's go back to that other
Okay.
one.
Here's Julian's photo. I believe this is
Good
also
trouble.
from one of the recent protests.
What a good job you guys are doing. Look at this perfect photograph. Good trouble. The girl, what a great expression. And there again, we're violating the rule of thirds. Uh-oh, uh-oh. I love the arrow here, gives it energy. Her positioning couldn't be better. She's doing a yogi squat. Kids just do this stuff naturally. We older folks have to, go to a yoga class to try to get our knees to bend. And there's another one, 2 yoga squats here. Good trouble. That is just awesome. You lined it up, you got, and then there's this little punctuation point here of the light reflecting off of whatever that is. I'm not quite sure what that is. And just the top of a hat kind of like makes me think that's Dad. I love that image. Is this one that we just added? Is this somebody who's brand new?
No, no, this
Okay.
is one that came out a while ago. We
Okay.
just always have like so many images, and it's so hard for us to get through them all. So this one's been for a bit. I'll let you know if it's a brand new one.
Well, we're just
Um,
going to keep the party going here. I mean,
yeah.
I'll
Here's one I really like, Lokesh.
I do.
And let
Oh,
me
yeah.
find. I know that there was a caption. A young boy flaunting his hair.
I love it. You've got compositionally, you've got, this kid, this guy on the diagonal. It leaves me asking questions. What's this expression? Is this turmoil? We've got this guy back here who's doesn't appear to be really happy about what's going on. Even this little thing, it says traffic, that adds an point of interest. This is a great photograph. That's very like, we're into documentary or street photography here, and it could be part of a series. This is where I really want to do these projects with you guys, because I'd love to see, how does this fit into the whole, photo essay or whatever you're telling. It could be about the town. It could be about this one guy. You can pick any number of things. So, well done.
All right, here's one from Bob Kappa. I really like this
From
one.
who? Robert Capa just did that?
No, Bob Kappa.
Okay. All right. This is a very interesting image. I don't know what's going on, which again is a good thing. Somebody's drawing on a wall. No, it's not really a wall. Okay, whatever it is, I don't know what it is, and that's fine. And it's in color. My first thought would be, maybe that should be a black and white, but really it works really well because there's this, orange hood and this orange and the colors here. It's a very intriguing photograph that, again, I ask questions. Boom. I love what you guys are doing here. I mean, you guys
So many
are
great images. You
hitting
guys
it.
always make it hard for me to pick what images should I choose to put on here. Here's a good one from John. This was taken in a trip to, let me see, Romania. Street shots from Romania in 2019.
Okay, so this is a story of somebody traveling with a little smile on his face, or seemingly so, and then we have these police here, contrasting this to the other one where they're obviously you're being right in the mix of things. These guys are pretty, they're hanging out, and but the fact that they're looking over is kind of an interesting thing as well. So we have this guy as the center of interest here. He's framed, with the backpack here, and that works really well. And there's kind of a little something here I guess that's on top of his backpack. And that also helps frame him. You know what this is? I mean, we don't have to get really technical about it, but it's like L-shaped composition. L-shape, again, that's in my book. It helps to highlight your subject, and that's exactly what you're doing here. It's a backwards L, but that's still L-shaped. And then we have this frame within a frame. We have these guys back here carrying on about something, you know. They're not quite looking. This guy isn't looking at the camera. This guy might be. So you might have attracted their attention. Like, what are you doing? I love that you didn't cut his toes off. You left them in there. Great job. What can I say? You guys are just awesome. Bam.
All right, we've got a new member who just joined, and this is from Andre. And I went to a coastal town near where I live here in Italy, and it was really bright but a cloudy day. It was the first time trying to shoot during midday, so I tried something new by shooting with everything in focus.
I see. Okay. Punctuation point is the seagull. You've got a reflection here, which is interesting. What I'm hungry for here is the clouds being brought out. And again, you can do that in Lightroom or Photoshop. Just use dehaze. I think that would actually do it for you. You know, I'd play around with some of those other sliders, probably clarity, and just see what that does. But I think dehaze would bring the clouds out because there are definitely a feature in this photograph. That would be my only, you know, just from a processing point of view. And also it would make this seagull pop out of the frame, which would be a cool thing. I love getting birds in my photographs because I feel like, you know, they're interesting and they can add a lot of interest. On that trip that I told you about, I was chasing around some birds and I could never get them to do what I wanted them to do in the frame. So it just never worked out. But this one works really well. And, you know, we've got contrast here between the sky and the green water. So that again would be brought out. I just like to see a little more punch in the development of it. Otherwise, it's a great image.
All right, this one is from Senhal. And I just want to look to see quick if there was any caption. One more attempt to capture light and shadow, captured at a residential building entrance in Mumbai.
And I see that I'm going to mess up your name. Baggarug. You
It starts with a P.
That's a P.
Palkar?
Oh, okay.
Palkar?
Well, anyway,
sure.
sorry we're messing up. But anyway, no, that you read about the L shape. That's interesting. Okay.
Oh, in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You're talking in the comments, yes.
Thanks for reading that, and I hope you put it to good use. So, another wonderful example of, you know, using, Bob Holmes talks about he loves to have dark spaces in his photos that leave the viewer asking questions. And you've got this guy perfectly framed in this, you know, this rectangular section. I love the, you know, the positioning of him. There's, you know, it's basically a frame. This is called tunnel. This is called a tunnel composition. Tunnel composition is a little different than just plain framing. It's like you are looking through a tunnel in this case, and it brings your eye just very naturally to the subject. But because you left some of the shadows in there, because if you had made this a complete silhouette, it wouldn't have worked as well. So you left shadows in there so we can see that it's the tunnel effect. And, you know, the body language, the guy kind of slightly at an angle there. And you can see that his foot is moving. So that gives it that energy and that dynamic quality, which is really great. So we are going to just take a few more. I do have a call overseas in 20 minutes, so I've got to have a little break here and get on to that. But let's take a couple more, and then we'll call it a day.
All right, we've got another new member who's joining us. This is from Carlos, and this is from a rock in Guevara, Portugal. The
Okay.
photo is red because there was a wildfire in the background.
Ah, yes, I recognize those colors. And what's interesting about this is you've taken a photograph of the image in a frame, which means you've printed it and you've listened to everything I've said about printing your work. And it's in a frame, which is really awesome. I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but this might have been done digitally. But
It is an interesting way to present it, though, either
I
way.
think that's fantastic. I'd love it if you guys would do that. Take pictures of your photos on the wall or in a book, and that's going to get you extra points with me because it shows that you're putting your stuff out to the world. Okay, this is cool, and I know that it's a bittersweet thing because it makes these skies incredible, but it's incredible because of a tragedy, which is a fire. It's like a portrait. This is like a face almost. So you've taken a portrait of this rock with the sun right behind his nose and all this unbelievable splash of red color. Well done. All right. Well, I think we've got time for one more, and we're going to call it a day, you guys.
All right, let's go with this one. This one's from Rami Miller, uh, who we had done one last week,
I love
and he
it.
kind of felt that missed the point of the photo a little bit because it was just taking one in a series,
Oh, I see.
which once again would be a great example of why don't you try taking that series and then make a video where you talk about it and then send the photos in as
Absolutely.
well. That would be a great example. But so he said that he felt like this more, if you had to look at one shot, this one did a good job of going with the feel that he was going for.
I love this photograph. I mean, really, everything works in it. You've got the you know the elderly woman here. Uh, the whole grace thing behind her. Her body language. She's mid eating a hot dog. But the the thing that really makes this you know pop out for me is Minnie and Mickey Mouse here. I wouldn't expect that on this woman. So there's big, to me, that's contrast. She's not exactly overjoyed like Minnie and Mickey are. So we've got contrast there. It's a great photograph. It's a slice of life. It's part of our daily life, and I love that. I love that kind of photography. So listen, you guys. Hey, I want to thank you guys for everything you're doing here, in terms of the work you're doing and being part of this community. It's just does my heart so much good. I really, bam, you're really making my job easy because all I'm doing is telling you why you've already got a great photograph. So thank you and keep it up. And definitely, definitely, definitely send us your shoot supports. We can look at shoot support in the sense of we're supporting you. And if you need help with your shoot, we can support that as well. And you're supporting us. It's a mutual thing.
And you're
That
supporting other people too,
you're
because like I
supporting
said,
others.
if you have a problem, there's probably at least 10 other people in the world having that exact same problem.
So true. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to call it a day here, you guys. I love everything you're doing. I love having you guys part of our community. I love spending time with you in the AYP community. I am a one busy dude these days. I've got so many things going on behind the scenes with AYP. I don't get a lot of time to dive into the AYP Facebook group, but I feel like I'm making up for it by spending this much time with you. And I hope you forgive me for not spending more time in there, but this is my quality time with you every week. So that's about it, Jared. I don't think we have any other items, do we? Before
Yeah,
we.
I think we pretty much covered it all during the show.
Yep.
So just keep submitting your images. I'm keeping track of them. We got through a lot today. This is the closest we've gotten to getting through every single image
I know.
since we started this show. So that just means you guys got to keep sending more in.
Keep doing it. Tell your friends. And remember to subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss anything. Like our videos as always. Watch them. Keep watching them. We've got a boatload of videos in here.
We have a new
Oh,
news show video that's out in case you missed the
new
one from
news.
yesterday and
We
you don't
got it.
have an hour. You
And
got 10 minutes? Catch up on the news.
watch them. And don't forget that we've got years and years and years of content that you should keep watching. And we've got a lot of other new stuff about to pop up. We'll tell you about it, soon. Share, like, do all those good things. Leave your comments. We really do try to answer them. Sometimes it's just a thumbs up or whatever because it's just a comment, but leave your questions as well. And say this with me, and I want to hear it in your videos. Remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Love you guys. Stay well, stay safe, stay creative, and we'll see you.